All right, here we go. Friday, late night happy hour. DC and the Sunshine Man. No DC tonight. He's on his extended vacation. Gotta like that, right, Willie? Dave, I got to tell you, from working with Dave, I worked with Dave for a long time. He's around his extended vacation. There it is, echoey. The guy never takes off. But this is the 1 week when things slow down a little bit, going to back to the middle of the week with the All-Star game. Yeah. And then what turned out to be basically a non-sports day aside from soccer. Thursday was an extra day off. That was weird because of the COVID stuff. We'll probably hit on some of the COVID updates. We've been doing it the last couple of days. Tonight I was like, we're not doing any of the COVID stuff, none of the vaccination stuff, and then we had a rash of stuff come down yesterday and today. So anyway, long story short, days off tonight. Willie, nice enough to step in. So what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Just I looked up and we're less than or just around 3 weeks from football.
Yep, it's crazy.
Right around the corner. This is the last month that we will have no football until March 2022. Kahlua is in bed. Brady said he's just here to see Kahlua. Kahlua is knocked out. Kahlua is in training, actually. He started his doggy training. I found a personal one-on-one trainer. She's really good. So we've been practicing. And
what are the dog's weaknesses that she needs to get better with?
The only thing since day one, and it's just really just puppy behavior, and it's not what you learn is it's just not the dog, it's you, and keeping up is just potty training and just staying on top of it, going outside and instilling the that repetition of going outside, going to the bathroom, and immediately celebrating as if you just won the Super Bowl and giving a treat. I mean, you have to treat it like they just go nuts out there and celebrating and give them all the love you can. And she's really the trainers really brought up some good points for Kahlua, and he's responded. What's really wild is some of the things that she's brought up and how to interact that I already did. But not because I knew that that's how you did it. I just was naturally doing that. And, just little things, picking up on little things and with, training or how you talk to them or how you react to them and things you don't do. So it's been interesting. Today, she's really cool, too. She said, I want you to, she gives you homework. She said, I want you to go out with socialization because dachshunds are known to, if they isolate themselves because they're so close to their humans, that they will become assholes as they become adults.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you don't socialize them at a young age, so like she was like, she had all the stores down. She said you can go to Kohl's, you can go to Best Buy, you can go to Home Depot. Here's the places. She said, and I'll meet you if you want. She said we want to interact him with certain people and then learn how to walk by one and then interact with the every other one and different. I mean, even in the instruction booklet and the homework, different ethnicities and then different sizes, kids, and this. It's pretty interesting because she's got it down to a science. And for me, it wasn't that expensive. It was, it was worth it. So, and the fact that she like today, she didn't charge me any extra. She says, "No, I'll meet you at the store. We'll walk around. We'll do it together." So it's really cool.
Where do you find a good dog trainer?
Dude, here's the wildest thing. I'm a big believer in signs. I think I told this story about how I ended up deciding on when to get Willie the dog whisperer is when I got the dog. So I had to go to Kohl's on a whim, just on last second, had to go to Kohl's. And I noticed a couple walking around with the dog. And as they got closer and approached, there was no jacket, no vest, no nothing. And it was a dachshund. And so I said, "Hey, is that a service dog or something?" They said, "No, we called ahead." And they said it was cool. I was like, "Oh, right on." So we just got to talking and BSing. And I started asking them questions, how long it took to do certain things. And I said, "Do you suggest I want to do doggy school, but I've been waiting for the vaccinations to kick in. I've been waiting for it." And she said, "No, absolutely. It helps." She said, "I'm a dog trainer." So I kind of looked up her credentials, just kind of looked it up a little bit, and we talked, and she said, "Yeah, so we did a phone consultation, and it just, the fact that I was at Kohl's for a spot thing that I didn't, otherwise I would have never been there, and they happened to be on that side of the store at that time, and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, this has to be a good sign. So we did, like I said, we did the phone consult, and she came over for the first session, and normally she charges for the phone call, like the phone consult. What she did is for the phone consult is usually the first lesson. It's the first meeting. And she said, I'm not going to charge you for that. I'll just do it for free. So we knocked the first lesson out. Then today we went to the store, and she's coming back to do Monday. And so, and he's responded well because a lot of the things that she's teaching, we've sort of been doing it. And it helps me to work at home, working out of the house as a freelance writer, spending my time here. I can bring them wherever I want. So I've been bringing them to the gym, the perfect gym, and, run over, visit my mom. So it's made it easier to sort of get him to listen and pay attention. And now it's just all the little things that she sort of instills and teaches. So it's been fun. It's been cool.
Well, it's good timing. What's going to happen when you have to be out and about more with the dog?
Well, the good thing is that there's already been a couple of fights I've covered. There's been the Golden Knights went through the playoffs since I got him.
Right.
So he's used to being home alone anywhere, and if I go to a big box gym, EOS or LVAC, he's home for 2-3 hours. The one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's because of his breed or just getting him at a baby, but he's gotten used to my schedule. So if I get up between 3:30 and 4 to go do some morning cardio, I leave. He hears me. He knows I leave. He's in his exercise pen. When I get home, I pull him out. Same ritual every morning. Same sort of. So by 8:30, 9 o'clock, he's taking his first nap. So a lot of the same regimen. He's used to my sleeping schedule, and he just falls right in line with it. So it's as far as the Raiders are concerned, those will be long days because, if we have a 1 o'clock game to cover, if we have a game and we're allowed in the stadium at 10, I'm leaving my house at 9:15, and I probably won't be home till 5. I would probably get someone to come in, grab them, let them out, bring back, just visit with them for a minute. But those will be long days. But he's had a couple long days already.
Were you supposed to cover the basketball tonight? USA basketball tonight?
No, normally I cover USA basketball, and I have since probably 2012 or 13 when they've come in. But Tim Reynolds, who's going to Tokyo, just flew in and is basically, since they've been camped here and they're doing all their exhibitions here, you know how it is. Normally they come here for their camp, and then they leave and they do their little tour or whatever, and they play exhibitions all over. This year that everything's here. So Tim just flew in, and I think he's going straight to Tokyo from here.
All right. Maybe I'll try to get him on before he leaves, but he might be gone by Monday. I think they start up on the 25th. The basketball team plays on the 25th. So you think they're going to play Sunday? They cancel tonight.
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, it's kind of,
they about Sunday. I mean, I'm sure they'll wait until later today or something, but I don't know. It seems risky to me.
It does, and I think it would be more of a precautionary thing. They did name their replacements, right? I believe the roster additions were announced earlier this afternoon.
They announced JaVale McGee, and they added a really young guy, 21-year-old, who played 2 years at Kentucky. Keldon Johnson is with the Spurs.
Keldon Johnson, yeah.
So they're leaving home. They're leaving at home a guy like Trae Young, which apparently it appears to be, some of this political nonsense we've had in the past with this time it's potentially Lloyd Pierce, who was the coach of the Hawks, and the Hawks sucked. And I'm guessing that, Trae Young was part of the crew that ran him out of there. And you remember the Hawks were 14-20 when the guy got fired, and then they went 27-11 and made the run in the playoffs. And even last year when Lloyd Pierce he's been on Pop's staff for the Olympic team. Even last year when I forget who the media person was, randomly asked him like, hey, why don't you make more of a push for Trae Young to be on the team? And he immediately was like, nah, I don't think he's ready. He's like guys like Mason Plumlee and I cannot remember who. It was another like decent player, but not Trae Young. Lloyd Pierce kind of threw his hat in the ring for those guys and not for Trae Young. So Trae Young sent something out today alluding to Isaiah Thomas and the Olympic team. So something's going on.
Yeah, Trae, it's funny because I remember just a few years ago when Trae Young and Devin Booker were getting absolutely no respect whatsoever. And during the summer league, you know, they would come out to support the young guys, and they were just a couple of years in, and they were always very cordial, very nice, very cool. They, you know, to anybody, to fans, to kids, to media. I've walked up to both of them. I mean, Devin Booker wouldn't know me from anywhere. You couldn't mention my name. You know, I'm sure there's media members, obviously he knows. But when every summer, absent of last summer's pandemic, that knocked the summer league out, I mean, that dude would walk up, say hello, you know, conversate, whatever. He'd recognize, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of like, hey, what's up? You know, and it wasn't fake because I wasn't initiated. A lot of times I wasn't initiating it. They just recognize it because they're young guys and they're here from the jump. And another person like that was John Collins. I mean, right from start. I remember John Collins a couple of years ago. I wanted to talk to Trae, and I walked up, and John, his eyes got all big, gave me a dap and a hug, and he came on with me, and I can't remember who I was doing something with. Might have been when Pritch was still on, or before he left for Colorado. And then I got John Collins to come talk with Seat Williams, got him on Seat when he was still around. And but he was always cool, and he said, yeah, no, Trae's more than willing. Went up and talked. So those guys, point is those guys never really came into the league with a big head and, you know, and thinking anything more than themselves. And they just were always humble, and nobody really gave him the respect from those days. And I always was a Devin Booker fan, and it said, you know, it talked good of, you know, talked him up and thought that I never said he's going to lead a team to an NBA championship this quick, but I did think that he was going to, you know, rise to that NBA superstar level. So I'm not shocked at either one of them, mainly because of their maturity and their, you know, their mental game and sort of just staying grounded, you know?
Right.
I remember that about those guys.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes was the other guy that Lloyd Pierce in 2020 was like, yeah, he deserves it. So does whatever Random Plumlee. So there's a little heat going back to 2020 with Trae Young and Lloyd Pierce. Brady was asking a little earlier, how does freelance work?
I see that, yeah.
You request to write a story, they request you.
It works both ways. During the Golden Knights season or during the Raiders season, during the Summer League, if there's something that I'm already on the beat covering, for features, I will bring it up and say, hey, what about this? What about that? Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'll throw things my editor's way, who's based out of Arizona for the West region. And, you know, I'll just come up with different ideas. When it's the Raiders, the first season that, you know, last year, worked very closely hand in hand with Josh Dubow. And he would, you know, if he wasn't flying in, or he would say, hey, maybe we should do something on this, or during OTAs, those 3 weeks that we were allowed in every Wednesday, Josh would say, hey, let's maybe focus on this or focus on that. He would make suggestions. He would work on his end from NorCal where he's at. Outside of that, unless something comes up or there's something, you know, they will usually reach out to me. The boxing matches recently at the Virgin, obviously I had those assignments. Tim Dahlberg actually let the editor know, hey, we should probably have somebody out at those. I just spoke to my editor the other day. They actually want Mountain West Media Days covered just because he said the big thing with the focus on all the conferences, no matter who it is, no matter big Power Five or not, is obviously with the NILs. So, you know, some storylines there.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find something. We talked a little bit, and he said as we get closer, we'll talk. So it works both ways. It just depends, you know. If it's slow, like right now, Tim Reynolds in town covering USA basketball, whatever else it may be. Greg Beecham usually comes in for UFC, stuff like that. But when there's a regular season going on and there's a beat to be covered, I will bring up the random feature ideas. Otherwise, I'm just, you know, it's game coverage.
So but you're the first guy, like of all the media guys in town, when we talk about pro sports and then we start arguing like, maybe we don't need it here. You're the first guy who's like, wait a second, like, no, let's have as many. Like a baseball team would be friggin' awesome for you. Aaron mentions he's a freelance guy. That business is a little bit slow right now. This is a good question. Is anybody covering the big three on all these weekends they're in town?
I would say just the locals, and then maybe possibly, basketball. Like, I would imagine a lot of the basketball blog sites, Hoop Source or something like that. I'm sure that the Review Journal is covering it. As far as the Associated Press, I don't think that they, I don't even know if they do for the championship. I've never even covered a big three event whatsoever. I've never been to it.
So many good features.
There is.
You could easily find a good feature every single weekend.
Yeah. No, and definitely human interest stories. It's a matter of what the Associated Press wants to move on the wire and who would want to pick that up. For them, it would have to be extraordinary. Now, in general, I'll tell you, it's sort of an old school journalism school, fresh out of journalism school, young journalism tactic, but I have a system in which I've instilled since 2012 for the NBA Summer League, in which I'll go out and cover stories on rookies that were just drafted and for their hometown paper. And, the first couple of years it would, I got 2 or 3 bites, 4 or 5 bites. And then 2 years ago, the system that I have, it's just become flawless, where I had in 2019, because obviously we didn't have the Summer League last year, I ended up with 14 assignments before the Summer League even started. And I was able to bring a team with me. And so there was a young lady who, after her freshman year at ASU at the Walter Cronkite Journalism School, she was covering the Aces for the Athletic. So the Athletic
what's her name?
Madden Johnstone. She's actually an intern now with UFC right now.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think I know of her. I'm pretty sure that her mom, and she might actually be a client of my girlfriend at her salon, I think. Random reference, but I remember her telling me.
Madden Johnstone Thomas.
Yeah. I think that's
So I had met her while I was covering the Aces that summer, and then Danny Webster, who is a UNLV grad, and then the NHL.com correspondent for the Golden Knights. And I've known him since he was in J school at UNLV back in, when I returned to the scene and picked up freelance. So what I was able to do was I got all these assignments and I sort of spread them out, got their schedules, and it gave Madden her first ever major NBA, or credential outside of WNBA. So she was able to go to the NBA Summer League as much as she wanted. But then I gave her assignments, and then Danny, I gave assignments, which I knew Danny could handle already because I had sort of given him some leads in the past, and he just went about on his own. But for this, we sort of worked as a team. And then all the different newspaper outlets or media outlets, they paid my corporation, and then my bookkeeper cut a check to Madden and then Danny. So it was kind of cool, just to sort of help out a couple of young journalists, especially Madden, being that, she had never done anything like that before. I mean, going to the WNBA, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay that, but, to transition from that to be able to go to the NBA, and you see these guys who were just drafted or first-year players. And then there was a couple times where she wanted to, or I wanted to get some quotes, and I was like, hey, just hang with me and I'll show you. You're wearing the one thing I've always suggested to young journalists, whether I've spoke at UNLV or whatever, as I said, if you're wearing that credential, I don't care if you are Doris Burke or Willie Ramirez or Danny Webster. If you're wearing a credential, you're wearing the same credential they're wearing, and you just act like you belong there, and you go out there and you interview. And so the first day that she was there, we walked right on the court. Zach Collins was there. He saw me. Of course, I know Zach from here. And I said, hey, man, I got to talk to Dame about something. He said, oh, he's cool. And so Matt and I walked right up, talked to Damian Lillard, and she thought that was a cool thing. And from there, the nerves were gone, and she just kind of did her thing. And I gave her assignments, and they wrote their story. So I enjoyed doing that because like I said, it's just sort of a sense of giving back a little bit and introducing, because I didn't really have that when I was younger. I tell you, actually, the two guys that sort of took me under the wing from a national level back in the early 90s at boxing was Wally Matthews and John Saraceno. And going to all the old boxing matches and going to every, it was really cool. So.
Saraceno's a name from the past, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy was for folks who didn't watch boxing in the late 80s and early 90s, he was a massive name because there were only so many full-time boxing beat writers, and he was the guy at USA Today, and it was, he was around like all the Tyson lunacy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Saraceno, Wally Matthews, Burt Sugar back then.
Burt.
Michael Katz.
Yep.
Remember, he always had the neck brace on.
So many crazy characters in boxing and the media. Such a weird group. I saw people earlier mentioning another college basketball tournament about a month and a half ago announced they were coming here. Yeah, Mark saying the Big West, so they'll be at the DLC arena in Hendo. So yeah, we've got 5 conferences here. So I know that's
the Big West. Wasn't the Big West coming? Wasn't the Big West already coming? They just announced that they were going out there, or they were shifting, or were they? Or was that the one that was in Anaheim?
That's the one that's been in Anaheim. I think.
Okay.
I don't know what they did last year. I don't know in terms of venues and everything. But yeah, they were doing the Anaheim Convention Center, which was kind of crazy because that's not really a true basketball environment. Small, cool, but a little bit different.
Yeah, there's it's definitely. I mean, we've been saying this, but I mean, it just keeps growing and growing in terms of being the hub for so much.
Yep.
All the events are coming. I mean, here's the scary thing is that, we talked about this a couple weeks ago in daytime, right? On the show, on the radio, in that, things, it's getting real. Things are opening up. It was the day that we talked about the weekend that the Garth and then the UFC in the same night and all this. What's scary is the reverse, like in what is in California with the mask mandate and this Delta variant and how things are turning, and that the vaccinations all of a sudden don't even matter. That something, so
they on the mask, they don't matter. I think they're going to matter a lot coming up for working around sports and athletes. And I have no idea what they're going to do. If this gets real nasty with the unvaccinated when it comes to getting into sporting events, I don't know how they would ever police it. I don't know, but some stuff's coming. Yeah, so I saw I think the recommendations coming here. It's funny. Someone was saying, I never heard you refer to her as your girlfriend. When do we change from the SO? I didn't change. I just like to mention, because not everyone knows significant other or SO. So I mentioned girlfriend. Man, when I got home tonight, because she works in a salon, and up until probably, I don't know when things changed, maybe 6 weeks ago, Willie, up until then, she had to wear a mask every day, like for the full day. And there aren't many breaks, and there is really nowhere to go in her place where you can take the mask off. So like for you and I, especially me, I can work in studios where one person's around, no one's around. You and I were doing shows from the Battleborn studios for people, and I was just seeing the rumor today. Was it LV Locally? I think she posted something about maybe the Venetian employees are going to being masked again. It might be mandatory that the employees have to be masked. Like for the folks who just got out of the mask at work where they have to wear it all the time, this sucks ass.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's awful. And now you get the whole debate. I think it's funny, getting mad at Governor Sisolak is one thing, or getting mad at your employee is another. I'm not sure they're the people that you need to be mad at about masks having to go back on. I think you're targeting the wrong people. So,
well, I'm just, again, I go back to is they're saying that I don't know what's proven yet or what, but that the vaccinated or not, this new variant is defeating that. So you don't know who's going to get sick. You know,
I know of the people I know, and I haven't seen updates like, bigger name media people. I saw Jay Williams, former Duke player, ESPN guy. He's out of the finals. He's not going to work the coverage anymore because he tested positive. I think I know of the 8 or 10 people I know have gotten it in the last 2 weeks. I think it's half and half. Half were vaccinated, fully vaccinated, half were not.
Are you seeing, forget about just recently, just even since things are opening up, whatever, where are you seeing people still wear the masks most where they don't need to?
Only place is grocery store.
Yeah.
That's it. Everywhere. Like I went into a convenience store today and I walked in with one, and from the employee to like the 7 customers who walked in and out, none of them had it on. So yeah, it'll be another one of these arguments that we've gone through for like, 16 months now. So, and, I gave my philosophy on it last night. I got a lot of stuff coming up. So, if you can throw at me, hey, you're fully vaccinated. If you get it, it's not going to really have any effect, but I'm going to have to report it to my employers, multiple employers. I'm going to see my family at the end of August. My parents are like 78 and 77. Like I can't get it. So I'm not losing out on money. I'm not missing my vacations. I plunked a bunch of money down for an upcoming trip in August. Like I'm not losing money, and I'm not missing out on vacations, and I'm not missing out on work assignments. So it's basically self-preservation.
We got the email today from the Raiders, and it broke down everything as far as COVID-19 protocols.
Adam's been telling us about it, that pretty much you're out. You ain't at the facility if you're not vaccinated. I know I gotta get my shit together. I know next week for Mountain West Conference Football Media Day, I'm out there in the morning and then doing the show in the afternoon. And you can get in if you're unvaccinated as of now, but you got to wear a mask the whole time. So to be maskless and actually have the interviews sound good, I have to show a vax card there. So I definitely think with the media, the vax card is going to be, you better have some kind of proof.
There you go.
Yep, you got it. Yep, I got mine. Martin was saying about not sure about planes. So the flights I just took back and forth to Newport, which is, it's a really short flight, max 45 minutes. Everyone had to wear a mask, so it was fine, and there was no trouble. No one gave any problems.
Yeah, it is kind of odd to be requested. I went to the eye doctor and the dentist recently, and both places asked me, or told me I had to put one on, which, that's fine. I keep a couple in my car just in case. Is
there one place you hate wearing it?
Mm-mm.
I don't tell anyone. The one, I don't know why it annoys me, because I really need like 12 minutes max to get the service done. I don't know why I don't like it, but I don't like it when I'm getting my hair cut. It's stupid, but it just annoys me. I don't know why. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
I don't have the only time
I wasn't trying to rub it in.
The only time that I was really sort of anti-vax and CJ Cards fan in the waiting room and whatever, and then once you get back there, then you take it off. But you have to, when you're sitting in the waiting room. The only time that I've ever really sort of been vehement and sort of aggressive was when it very first was announced, and then they said that, and then gyms were included. They had opened the gyms, right? I think it was June 4th. Last summer, they said gyms are open, but you have to wear a mask. And then they said, unless you have a physical condition that precludes you. Well, it turned out that just before everything hit last year, remember when the tournaments were here, Pac-12, the big, it was the Big West. Because anyway, it was the Western Athletic Conference. I was at that one, and that's right when it got shut down. I had been working with a pulmonologist. They were checking on my lungs because we couldn't figure out what this cough that I had annually. Just couldn't figure it out. I had to go to ear, nose, throat specialist, and a lot of people that particular time frame were like, "Oh man, you got COVID, you're coughing." But I was like, "Man, I get this cough. I got this cough 6 years ago before anybody knew what this was. This is just something, we couldn't figure out if it's an allergy or if it was post-nasal drip. What the fuck it was? Nobody knew." Anyway, so I sort of said, "Hey, I'll get a note from my pulmonologist. I'll get a note from my doctor, whatever." I was most in fear for just breathing properly while you're squatting, you know what I mean? Because I'm going in there to lift, I'm going in there to work out, and I wasn't going to miss gym time if the gyms are open and I'm going in there. So I was more worried about that, and at the very beginning, they said you have to wear your mask in, you have to wear it up to your machine. The second you start engaging in your set, you could take it down, put it around your chin, and then you could put it back up. And then within a month, that went away. And basically, in so many words, they were saying, if you have a physical limitation and where you can't do a set without a mask on, then don't come in. You shouldn't be in the gym anyway. So,
interesting.
But now, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit. If you gotta wear it, put it on. I mean, what the fuck? I think more people. I don't think anybody's got a problem with it because it's, it precludes them from anything. I think they just want to be defiant, just to say, I'm not doing it.
So. Of course. Yeah, of course. Like Brady says, he was some trash family behind him on the plane got yelled at multiple times to mask up. And yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about it because who said it afterwards? Oh, Truth was telling Brady, I actually wouldn't care if masks became permanent on planes. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but here's the thing: wear the mask if you want. Who cares? What's someone going to say something to you? And actually, the SO and I talked about it after we flew, and we were like, I mean, that is one of the places where maybe we should smarten up and wear it much of the time, because those are hotbeds for getting sick. I mean, you're in this freaking tube with the air being recirculated over and over again.
Yeah, how many commercials have you long before we knew there was a pandemic? Commercials. What was the number one product that was being sold? Was it airborne? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. You take some stuff before you go on the planes.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. And this will be really interesting with the Garth concert, because I've seen a lot of people, a lot of the anonymous dipshits who were flipping out today about the possibility of masks going back on indoors here in Nevada, and they were like, "Well, all these people went to Garth, nothing happened." Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens coming up. And again, I'm not rooting for any of this, so I hope everyone's fine. But everyone has their reason. If they want to mask up, if they don't, you do what you want, and we'll see how it's handled next week, because California went with it today. By the way, I wanted to mention something earlier because I saw this too. Let's see, in California. I saw this quote from what's his name? Is it Alex Villanueva? Is he the LA Sheriff's Department? He's the boss there. He's the chief. He said they're not enforcing the new mask mandate. Now, he may have been asked about this, but frankly, what fucking cops were asked the entire time to enforce the mask mandate? Like, as soon as I read it, I'm like, Dick, why does this have to immediately be about the office you're going to run for or your next job? Like, that to me is an absolute performative statement, like pounding your fist and going, my department is not going to enforce this, and I can't believe, the folks in LA aren't following the CDC recommendation. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, come on, dude. That is grand.
Again, someone just taking it personal, and just to be defiant, just to go out and proclaim something. Just to proclaim, I'm not doing this. We're not doing this.
No one's asking you to. No one made you do it the first time.
Right.
Has anyone in this chat ever, maybe it happened and I missed it, or maybe a cop was called in, maybe Metro was called in, but generally it would be after a situation got volatile. We saw all the Karens in the country. Yes. You'd be called to calm some sort of situation. Right. But I doubt anyone indoors or anywhere had an officer walk up to him and go, "Hey, let's go."
Right. That's there were random, very random, maybe 0.01% where, at the height of this last year, that we've seen videos of cops trying to do, just being hard asses, but for the large part, 99.9%, they're not showing up to businesses because someone's not wearing a mask. They're showing up to business to remove somebody who's being belligerent and has basically been quote unquote trespassed by the owner or the manager, because they're the ones that are enforcing it. And then you're not leaving their premises where they have the right to refuse service. And that's why we're seeing the cops show up. They're not showing up because you weren't wearing a mask. They're showing up because you're being an asshole. You've been asked to leave. So,
God, it's so stupid. Trying to put on.
I joked several times and said that I wouldn't mind them. It's funny talking about masks. Just tonight, I went to the grocery store and I put this on my Instagram story. I said, the one thing I miss about masks is I routinely would go through the fucking grocery store talking to myself out loud. Like, do I need this? No, fuck.
Oh, really? Because it was muffled?
Yeah, I would just talk to myself. Nobody could see it. So it dawned on me tonight as I'm going through, and because Jordan and I are doing our second cooking video. Remember I told you last week on the show that
tell the audience here what you're doing, because we talked about it on terrestrial side.
So we're gearing up for Monday Night Football since we know the schedule, and what we want to do is look at the two teams that are playing in the game and produce cooking videos with our seasonings that we have for our, that it's related to our fitness company and our gym, Perfect Seasonings. So, for instance, Baltimore versus the Raiders on, opening Monday night. So we'd have a recipe for each, and then we put them on the Instagram video and do the reels, and then do a how-to with the recipe and so on and so forth. So to warm up for that, last week we started, and then we're doing one tomorrow. But it has nothing to do with sports. They're just cooking videos. So we're doing it at a really nice kitchen that we use, and he does the filming and the editing, and I do all the cooking. So I'm walking down the aisle tonight, and I'm thinking, do I want to make a chicken nugget sauce? Because we're doing Wednesday. This coming Wednesday is National Junk Food Day. So I put a question on my Instagram story. What is your favorite fast food? Or when I say fast food, what do you think of? I said, do not name the place, name the food itself. And the overwhelming favorite was chicken nuggets. So we're going to do, the video is going to be of chicken nuggets, homemade chicken nuggets through the air fryer with a sauce. And then he'll have from tomorrow till Tuesday to put it together, and then we'll release it on Wednesday. So I was just walking through the aisle talking to myself, do I want mayo to make this sauce? Do I want low fat? And then it dawned on me I don't have a mask on, so I put it on my story. I was like, you know what I missed? Yeah. Mr. G, you could go to Instagram, and it's Perfect, PERFICT seasonings, just like it sounds, Perfect Seasonings. And there's a post, and then it's one of the reels. They do the reels, and there's no talking or anything. It's just a quick little, splice by splice edit in how to do it. So last week I did a take on like a shrimp scampi with sauteed spinach. Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to do a homemade healthy version of chicken nuggets. But Jordan puts everything up on his trademark name is Perfect, PERFICT. Instead of the E, it's an I with the emphasis on the word fit, FIT. And he's got the perfect gym, perfect seasonings, and perfect apparel right there. So I'm generally wearing the apparel on all the shows.
I actually had, what was it? Cauliflower crusted chicken fingers tonight, which I've been trying to eat healthier. They were good. I'll just say that. It didn't taste healthy. So I was kind of wondering if this is really cauliflower crusted, but
you're talking about like,
it was from
Sprout. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend who did. I've always seen it on different videos.
Yeah.
The buffalo, like instead of buffalo chicken wings, but it's buffalo cauliflower wings.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we have them. We get them out all the time. They're good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But you still got the breading. So if you're trying to eat kind of healthy, they're still
this. So when I went over my friend's house that made it, it was not breaded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the way that they did it.
Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe the ones.
Well, I think some could do it. They probably maybe throw some like panko breadcrumbs or something. Right. That's what I'm going to use tomorrow on the chicken nuggets. So
He's good. Coldway said he just got back home from dinner at Caesars, and it was basically 50-50 on the mask.
With the mask.
Coldway, where'd you go to dinner? Curious.
Was it Hell's Kitchen?
Right, maybe. Here we go. Why not?
David Shane.
Around the corner. Good.
Got a celeb in the room, Mr. Shane. Dave Shane's in the house. Golden Knights beat writer.
Nice. I'll throw this gas on the fire because this is always a good topic for Willie, and we'll see how it goes this year. But Ricky, who's a big UNLV basketball and football fan, or at least he follows them, asking for the opinions on Rebel football this year. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because I thought some of the whispers around spring practice about the quarterback situation were kind of serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's the ultimate low-hanging fruit. Like, well, let's talk quarterbacks right off the bat. But so much of this team depends on the story revolves around the quarterbacks. And then the quarterback depth, too. Because for all the people last year who were annoyed that Max Gillum was playing, and I don't know if it'll cost him this year. He needed to play last year, even though they didn't win any games. I think Broomfield can be pretty good. I have no idea on Justin Rogers because he's got to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they don't have a ton of experience depth. So much of the season is going to hinge on Broomfield excelling because I think the rest of the team, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. The upgrades around the rest of the team are going to be significant. The fact that Chuck is back at running back is massive, but they also have to block for him. Like last year, he wasn't great because the offensive line, especially the veterans, just fell apart. So the O-line's got to be better. But I think on defense, you're going to be shocked by the new size all over the field. Like they are going to be so much bigger and so much deeper in the front 7 or 8.
So I do think that they're going to be improved. Whether or not that they can win and bring that winning mentality is another thing. Yeah. Here's the thing, and I've said this time and time again. I've said it on this specific show. I've said it to you, Steve. We talked about this. I don't personally have any problem or any issue with Marcus Arroyo as a football coach because I don't know. We don't really know. He was so quiet and shut down during his weekly press conference. We might have gotten 10, 15 minutes with him. Maybe they dealt with the COVID situation. And yes, every other team had to also. San Jose, look what they went through, and they ended up winning, and they went to the bowl game, won the Mountain West. So I get it, but it's too hard to judge and too hard to gauge, and it's not fair to place any kind of blame or sort of second guess just yet. The only problem that I've ever had is just how standoffish, and I'm not going to answer any questions, and how Marcus handled the media. And he doesn't have to be anybody's friend, although there are media members that, that would rather be his friend than be, right. True blue media and report the proper things. But the bottom line is, we're not going to know anything until this season actually starts. Even spring practice, it was somewhat. I think Gramala was out there.
There was a decent crowd out there, and I'll jump in by saying, with the media stuff, and then that kind of spills over to the fans. Last year was the perfect storm of hell. You got a guy coming into a new market. He's a little bit leery already about the media. Yeah. Then there's a couple of things written about him. We had some people shacking a fool in the media. So I think that set him sideways. And as Willie knows, so much of the coach's relationship with the media is actually getting face-to-face time and getting some chit-chat time. You got none of that, so he's just watching freaking TV shots of all of us asking him questions. He doesn't really know us. So spring practice, he opened up a lot, and there was a crew of like 6 or 7 people out there at a lot of the practices. So I think the more time he gets and the more trust he builds with the media people, and there is a thing with media folks. When you have to go out and actually speak to the subjects, there's a little more responsibility. You have a little more accountability. Yeah. You can't just freaking write whatever you want, tweet whatever you want, say whatever you want. So that face-to-face interaction, I think, is gonna change a whole bunch. Yeah,
I think it'll work both ways too. It's going to change a lot of the media perspective on Arroyo, and it's going to charge his perspective on the media. You know, when you get wind, you know, when guys like us, veteran media members who sort of know enough people, and you find out that before he even left Eugene to come here, that he started reading past columns and past articles that certain people were writing, and he already had it perceived who he liked, who he didn't like, who to be wary of, who this, and you haven't even gotten here to get to meet the people. That's the same as us prejudging him without getting to know him. So that was a little unfair, and that's, I think, was why he was standoffish, and that the media could be, you know, when you say, well, the media could be rough on UNLV football, dude, that has nothing to do with you coming from Oregon. That's got to do with history in this town. Well, since look at the UNLV football.
And, you know, especially with basketball, that's a mistake that the basketball coaches have made. You know, they hit the ground and they're like, oh, shit, like there's fans aren't showing up. You know, a lot of people are sideways against us. There's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of cynicism. Like, it ain't just you. It's, you know, what's been building over the years going back to TKM and botched hirings and, you know, early firings. And so there's a history that you're trying to overcome. And, yeah, it's not an easy situation. Has he become more accessible? He was better at spring practice, and I'm sure DRF would like him to be more outgoing. Again, like, you can't. It's hard to make comments on Arroyo, and even going back to Otzelberger, the COVID thing was so effed up and so weird, and you're just trying to fucking survive and have players ready to go. But I will tell you, the experience with COVID and UNLV football a year ago does give me some pause around this season, because they are going to have to manage it again, just like the Raiders. And we don't know if the Raiders, I just saw today, I think the latest number is, Willie, that 13 teams around the NFL are at or above the 85% threshold, so they can operate under, you know, mostly normal conditions.
What is it? 7 teams, or what was it that's below 50%?
I think it's just 2.
Is it down to 2? I thought it was 4, because I was listening to you and Adam.
Well, it was someone put out the 4 lowest.
Oh, okay.
So they could be in the low 50s, but there's 2 that are under 50. So my point here is UNLV's season, believe me, folks, they were so affected by COVID in terms of the numbers and who could practice and who was ready on game day, and they had a couple of games canceled. Like, are they going to get it right this year? Right? Is this Delta variant going to run through college football and screw up programs again? Well, if it got screwed up last year, then going into this year, you got to be like, well, I don't know how they're going to manage it. And the Raiders were a disaster last year. They just were. Now, I think they're going to handle it better, I hope. But I don't know with either football team if they're guaranteed to have 0 issues with COVID.
Yeah, they're going to have no choice. Obviously, that they've you know, they have a season under their belt where they sort of, every team, every program, pro, college, has no choice but to correct their own mistakes, you know, and do a better job. Coaches can take things a little more serious, not saying that, you know, and I say that meaning, you know, focus in on the areas that they lacked and didn't, you know, unintentionally last year. I mean, how many times we heard Gruden last year say, you know, we're going to beat this thing and we're doing everything we can. But then every week there was something, from the Waller event to, you know, contact tracing to, who was it that went shopping after the store closed, right? They went shopping for shoes.
Right.
And so
it was, I think it was Trent Brown with John Abram.
Yeah.
It was definitely, I'm almost positive it was Abram.
Yeah. So they're all going to have to do a better job. And, you know, I think we're going to, you know, just to go back to the UNLV subject with the Royal, I think, you know, we didn't get in-person media days last year. So we're going to see how he's going to handle his first media days as a head coach, you know, with a lot of media. And, you know, we'll just go from there. But I think it's unfair to judge and gauge on anything from the first season. But that being said, you know, that win total of 1.5, you know, sort of lets you know. I want to go back to CJ Cards fan said, who has a more successful season, football or basketball? I'm going to tell you who. UNLV women's basketball. That's who.
Okay. Well, she was great.
Lindy LaRocque and the Lady Rebels will have an even better season than they did last year, and it'll be more successful than UNLV football and UNLV men's basketball. That's not taking away from how good or bad. I'm not saying that UNLV football could come away and hit 5 wins, whatever that win percentage, and UNLV men's basketball with Kevin Kruger, whatever they do. But I'm telling you right now that Lindy LaRocque every year is just going to get better and better. She's had some transfers come in, so I'm excited for her second year. Yeah,
so that was a good point. I think clearly what he was asking though is the football and the basketball, and then
obviously, and I was just being an asshole.
And Brady gave my answer: basketball, and it's not even close. I think the roster that Kevin Kruger put together is going to be really nice. I think he went back to basics, and this developmental stuff in this era, like you can have some freshmen in the program, but Otts misread what the project was here. And I think he listened to too many people like, hey, we have to start out, with building blocks and grow old together. Like that ain't the deal here. And it ain't the deal around the country now. With
most places. Yeah.
Yep. And I think Bryce's return is gigantic.
Yep.
Bryce Hamilton, I think that was the final piece, but I think they're going to have plenty of scoring. They're going to have really good guard play. They're big. They're so much bigger than they were. They've got depth in terms of big defenders at the 5 spot. Now, I don't know until we see it what their 3-point shooting is going to be like. So that could be a problem. I do think Josh Baker, the JUCO they got, is a very underrated recruit because he was being recruited by a lot of big schools. So, yeah, I think basketball. I would be disappointed with the basketball team because it's built for now. I would be disappointed with the basketball team if they didn't go out and win, at least 17 or 18 games and compete for top 5 in the Mountain West Conference. So, and I'm usually not like overly enthusiastic, over the top running Rebel guy, but I think the collection of players they have is nice. I still think there's a possibility of a wild card being added to the roster down the stretch here. We'll see. It might just be a freshman, or it could be we'll see what happens. But I think they're going to be good. So I have high expectations for the Rebel basketball team, which the conference is actually pretty good. So I'm taking a risk there because there are some teams that return a lot of their players. Like I think San Diego State, as soon as I said it. There you are, Will.
Yeah, okay. Froze up.
Yeah, we'll see. Brady says around 4th-ish. I actually think 5 is aggressive, but we'll see. I'm excited to see what they do. I think they're built around defense, and that's super important. That last year they were for Otts to have a year under his belt, and for that team to be so overwhelmed physically was kind of ridiculous. Because the problem was he typical of what happened to a lot of coaches. Willie, coaches come in, they want their guys, and he ran off some good players. You know,
and I think like you brought up as far as like long term and building his program instead of the here and now is I think Kruger understands that mentality. I don't necessarily think that was the how things were built when he was playing for his dad, but as a player, he saw the transition from that age into what we're at now. And so he understands it, I think, a little bit better. And plus he's got his dad here to advise. And I just think that he understands the philosophy of this program and the enrichment in this town that surrounding this program. So I think there's a better grasp of it. And that means something. It's not to take anything away from Ottsburg. It's just you can't come in and try to. You can instill your system in your program, but you also have to sort of embrace, like you said, what's going on in college basketball now, the here and now, the transfer portal, the one and dones, if there are those, and the fact that you have to play to win now. Not you're not rebuilding for a dynasty. over the court. You're playing for now.
There's no rebuilding here, and the modern coach and UNLV. I mean, in a lot of ways, Tark had experienced teams, but Tark also operated with this mindset. Like every year, if we have a chance to add great players, and maybe it's offbeat guys sometimes, we're going to do it. Chris Beard and Eric Musselman have turned college basketball on its collective heads, ears, whatever. Like they have no problem every year with, hey, you want to go? Then go. I will go get someone better than you in your place. That's just the way it works now. And then your job is quickly to take your new guys and get them to mesh with your existing guys and make them into a team. And I think UNLV is going to do a mix of it. I think they're going to try to build, with some Vegas players, young guys. Like I love the fact that they got in on Pop. We'll see. That whole thing is going to be interesting because his dad's quite the character. But they're in with Milo Suzan and also Josh Jefferson. I love that they're in on Josh Jefferson. So and make no mistake about it, Kevin Kruger is a dogged worker. He is a great recruiter. They will have players every year. And the other thing I love about the Krugers, when guys start to fade, right? When guys start to look elsewhere, I get the sense that the Krugers are like, okay, well, I mean, you make the best decision for you. We'd like to have you back. Like there were a couple guys they wanted back who moved on. All right, we're going to be okay. And there wasn't any freak out when the whole roster, over the course of a couple months left, they're just like, yeah, we'll make it work. That's just the way it goes.
And Kruger loves local talent. He knows it. And he's not afraid to get on the phone and work you. So yeah, he I think he's going to do fine. It wouldn't surprise me for him to have as surprising a year that Lindy did with the Lady Rebels. They were picked to finish 9th. They finished 2nd. Now, I don't know about finish 2nd, but, those that doubt UNLV and don't have them competing and, like you said, winning 17-18 and who knows how far going. And coming in, maybe, who knows? They close the regular season on a hot streak and come into the Mountain West tournament, rolling. But I think that he's going to do I think he's going to do better than expected. I definitely think he's going to do better than expected than a lot of critics may believe for a first-year coach. I think he's in the driver's seat and he knows what it takes. So I do believe that, and I think that he's going to be able to, like as you mentioned, take the talent he had, the new guys, and mesh everything and sort of just work off that chemistry. And he's going to know how to blend the right personalities and put the right lineups on the floor, and obviously his genetic code is loaded with basketball. I mean, he's got the pedigree. So he's got that going for him. He knows running Rebel basketball. He knows the crowd. I think it was Brady. Brady asked, what's it going to take to get 13,000 winning or pricing? I don't think pricing is the problem. I don't think getting a ticket is that hard. It's always been since the days of the Rotunda when Tark was winning to, when they moved into the Thomas and Mack, and it's always going to be winning. Yep. They start winning, people will start going. End of story. So I don't think the ticket prices are all that much anyway.
Well, I think people have shown here clearly that they've got the disposable income to go to sporting events and they'll spend it, because the Raider, VGK obviously is, got a good gauge of the market early on, and they're like, all right, fuck this, let's make some money. We get affordable numbers at the beginning. These people want to pay. Let's give them what they want.
From my understanding, when the single game tickets went available, and the Bears tickets became that was like one of the quickest games that sold out. So people aren't afraid to spend the dollar. You just, the idea of going to the NFL games, the idea of going to the winning Golden Knights games, a winning Golden Knights team to their games. UNLV starts winning, it'll you're going to see the crowd return.
Hey, let's close on this. Did you see the story? It was the other day in the Hollywood Reporter. Let's see. Headline: Soprano star or stars say James Gandolfini was paid a big sum to turn down the Office role. They actually came to him. NBC came to Gandolfini and wanted him to take over for Michael Scott. And I guess HBO stepped up and gave him more money, basically to turn it down. They gave him $3 million to turn it down. And that story was shared by both Imperioli and your guy, Sharippa.
Oh, then you know what? That must be, when did that story come out? Just the other day?
It was part of their podcast, yep.
Okay, so then I have not listened to this.
I ruined it for you. Spoiler.
So yeah, he actually, you know what's funny is there was a New York food reporter that put out like best pizzerias in and around the boroughs, and I quoted the article. I can't remember if it was from the actual magazine or I think it was from the reporter who wrote it. And I said, what say you and I added Steven, and he actually replied to it. He said, he goes, I've been to three quarters of these, pal. They're all great. My favorite is, and I can't remember which one he said was his favorite, but he replied to it. So yeah, I'll have to listen to this week's podcast, and if they say it, then it's true.
Wow.
One thing I will say about Gandolfini,
Imperioli and Sharippa, so that's their podcast,
Talking Sopranos.
They had Ricky Gervais on.
Oh yeah,
and Gervais was talking about Steve Carell, and in describing Carell's commitment to the show, he said basically he put his life on hold for 7 years. Imperioli then jumps in and says, they talked about having Gandolfini at one point replace him. Did you know that? That's cool.
They've told it. They tell a ton of this. So any Sopranos fans out there, if you have not listened to, they started this last year when the pandemic started, because I guess HBO, that's the one show that they've never taken down, and now it's on HBO Max. It's the Sopranos. People, they stream it all the time, and now you got a new wave of people. When the pandemic hit, they had an entire new wave of people, in the young 20s watching it. That you got to remember, this show went off the air, close to 20 years ago, whatever it was, and so there's now a whole new wave of people that are watching The Sopranos. So what they did was they started Talking Sopranos, where every episode correlates with the episode from the show, episode 52, whatever season that would fall in line with, and they this is the first time they've rewatched it in several years, dozens.
Yeah. And
they break it down scene by scene, and then they tell behind the scenes things and things about, when they did that, they did this. And Imperioli is actually very brilliant. If you listen to him, he's so intelligent and brilliant because he's a writer and a director. So he talks about a lot of the things that you wouldn't pick up on, and the nuances and the storylines. And Sharippa's just great because Sharippa's it's like listening to a wise guy. He is comical. He is fantastic. And they both tell. Sharippa's great for you old Vegas fans. He talks about when he lived here, and that's how he and I actually hooked up, and I was able to do the interview with him, and we did a Zoom session. But they told a story about Gandolfini where they weren't going to give like a certain group of the Sopranos supporting cast raises. And there was a big to-do about it, but Gandolfini got a raise, and he took the difference between, I think it was that he took the difference between what he was making and his raise, but he basically took his bonus and he divided it equally and gave it to everybody else that wasn't getting raises. That's how supportive he was of that show, that what they've become family. That's just one of the many stories that these guys have told. It's a fantastic. It is so. If you watch The Sopranos, you're a fan of The Sopranos. It got to the point, and you know how much I go to the gym, where I'm listening to old school hip hop or whatever to get me going. Sometimes I listen to motivational chats or on Spotify, and it got to the point where because there was stuff that was so funny that it gets your adrenaline going and you start thinking about the episode. I was listening to Talking Sopranos while I'm lifting. It was so it's really good.
Yeah. And this Office thing was confirmed. This is also a story that someone told back in 2020. And it says here, of Gandolfini that was the replacement that we were really excited about. He actually sat down with BJ Novak, who's on the show, who's one of the big writers, and another one of the writers said, I remember Gandolfini being really, really complimentary, but he wasn't super familiar with the show. He had watched a few episodes and was really unsure about comedy. He was like, quote, I don't know 100% how to play this. So he would have been able to do it.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's been in a number of different. I know one. There's two movies that I really enjoy. Gandol, actually three. Angie with Gina Davis, True Romance, which is an unbelievable movie with an unbelievable cast, and no, not The Mirage, at the Riviera, and The Juror with Alec Baldwin and Demi Moore. So, Sharippa was the entertainment director he started out as actually the very first job he had here was a delivery driver for Villa Pizza. And then he got into the nightclub scene, and he was a bouncer at Jubilation. And then he went to the brewery. And eventually he got a job at the Riviera, and he was doing booking acts for the comedy club. And then it turned out that it just turned out where he was booking acts for the lounge shows, and then in the showroom, and he was overseeing Crazy Girls, which was a show there, sort of a burlesque there. And he was a big name in bringing a lot of entertainment to the Riviera. And at that time, a lot of the action was at the south end of the strip with the Dunes, Caesars, the old MGM, and then Bally's, Flamingo, the Imperial Palace. And once you got toward the north end with the Riviera, the Sahara, Sahara was famous back in the 60s and 70s with Don Rickles playing the lounge show. But the Riviera was known for its local shows. And yes, Jimmy Jam of the lounge acts. But Splash was like an 11-time Best of Las Vegas show. And Crazy Girls was a big hit. And then, of course, they had was it Jimmy Jam? Was it the Improv, or was it just the Comedy Shop? It was a comedy show. I can't remember if it was one of the Improv stops. But that was Sharippa booked the acts for there too.
I went to a couple shows there. It was good. They had good acts there.
To answer Brady's earlier question, can we see how big your puppy is? I really don't want to wake him up because he is knocked out. He is he went from when I first got him from 4 pounds, and he fit from here to here to he went from 4 to 6 to 9 pounds. I'm guessing he's probably about 10 and a half now. The vets checked him out twice. He's got a third time, and he's getting big. He's getting healthy, and he is in training with a doggy trainer that I work hand in hand with. So he had his first class yesterday here at the house, and then we went out and did socialization in the store. So Kahlua is getting big. It was too. He gets up. He sleeps on my time, so he was knocked out about 9 o'clock tonight. 8:45, 9 o'clock. He laid down, and but going back to Brady's question, how I came about getting the dachshund had nothing to do with Sharippa. I lost my English bulldog of 13 years in October last year. And bulldogs aren't supposed. Their lifespan, the average is around 8 years, because a lot of people that get English bulldogs think they're supposed to look like the Fresno State, the Georgia bulldog, that they got all the folds and they're big, and they end up getting heart disease or diabetes or osteoporosis, all sort of. They get and that's why they die at a younger age. They can't get them to 10 because they just get overweight. So Daisy, we had really kept trim and in fit, and we lost her. She was going on 13. So I sort of bided my time and how long I was going to wait to get a puppy and so on and so forth. And I started Googling weird things. I would say cool dogs, cool little dogs. I wanted a little dog because I wanted a dog I could take wherever I went. Wherever I was going that I could take a dog, I wanted to have a cool little fucking dog that I could just take with me. So I would cool little dog men. cool little dog, disciplined men. Just everything. And different dogs would pop up. The only fucking one that would check every box was Dachshund. So I just started reading more and more. Earlier in the show, I said I'm a believer in signs, right? I said that when I talked about the dog trainer that I happened to meet at the Kohl's. That particular fucking week, or at one point when I was doing that, this kid that went to school, same school as Jordan, happened to post on his Facebook page, my mom's dog just had a litter, and they were Dachshunds. So it was all in the same week. So I was like, oh, let me go check out this litter. So I went over to her house, checked out the dogs. They had a few left. And I said, I'm going to let the puppy pick me. I'm just going to see. And they're all squirmy. They're puppies. This one, I picked him up and he just fucking immediately buried his head in the crease of my elbow here, kind of just snuggled up, and he just didn't leave my side. And I put him down. He kept walking to my ankles. And I was like, this is the one. I let the puppy pick me. So I went home and I Googled Dachshund, raising Dachshunds. I wrote out the pros and cons. The two cons that I can't fucking stand about dogs and that I felt would irritate me were yelpers and stubbornness with potty training. But the reasons that they gave were because family dogs, mom and dad leaving the house, kids going to school, they're alone all day. So, of course, they yelp. They see people walk by at the backyard, whatever. I'm home all day as a freelancer, unless I'm running out somewhere or going to a game. So I felt that I could pay attention to it and tend to its needs to eliminate those two things that would be idiosyncrasies that would piss me the fuck off. And other than the potty training, he's still a puppy. It's not like I can gauge it yet where, fuck, this was a failure or so on and so forth. I mean, he's 4 months old, 16 weeks, and he does really well. Every other day is where it's rough and maybe have an accident. So he's been a cool little fucking dog for a man, and he comes with me everywhere the fuck I go. I take him to the perfect gym. I take him to the store. He rolls with me. We took him to Laguna Beach a couple weeks ago, and we went at this Crystal Cove State Park, and Jordan is a fucking avid hiker, and he was like, oh, we're going on this hike, Pops. And I was like, okay. And there was one part of it where we were either walking all the fucking way around or we were cutting through over the mountain. And so Jordan, I was like, you're carrying him, motherfucker. So Jordan carried him up the mountain, but that little shit, he was a trooper. He hung in and walked the entire way. And Jordan and I went to Ruth Chris for dinner that night, and he was asleep in a dog-friendly hotel room. I brought his exercise pen, and the next day we walked up and down Laguna Beach. So he's definitely turned into the ladies do love him, Mark. Yes. He's definitely a cool little fucking dog.
Was that actually the true Google search? Not dogs, guys.
What dogs will ladies like?
You're like, oh shit, okay, I like this. Yeah. Perfect combo.
No, he's a cool little fellow, man. I dig him. He fucking I did not eat at Javier's. I ate at the Cliff one breakfast. It was doggy friendly, and I ate at a Mediterranean, like a Middle Eastern place, given my heritage, and both places made him chicken breast with rice and everything. So that was kind of cool.
Brady, answer. I didn't see what happened with Judge Dan. What's going on with the dog at his house? We tried to get Judge Dan on this week, but he couldn't come on. We're getting him back in the mix next week. Daughter's dog. All right, I'll check Twitter. I'm guessing if you search cat, guy, cool, what comes up on Google? Just no. Stop.
The Sphinx cat?
Cats are, I don't know, man.
Isn't that what it's called? The Sphinx? Is that the one like the Dr. Evil had where there's no hair on it?
I don't like those at all.
I'm not a cat person.
They creep me out, man. They totally creep me out.
I am not a cat person whatsoever, but I'm definitely a dog person, and I'm definitely turned into a fan of dachshunds. That's how I came about getting them. I definitely Googled those words, and this little fucker has just completely captured everybody's heart because Jordan's like, hey, you should have brought Kahlua down to the gym, or of course all the models that train at our gyms like, where's the dog? It's like, I'm good, how are you? So
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, who am I looking up? What am I looking up? What's the picture? What are we talking about?
You know what? I'll punch it up here. It looks like his dog or a dog completely flipped out and ripped up the carpet, but it's wall to wall, like all the way down to the fucking padding.
Oh,
and
the house.
The dog's just like, what?
I see it.
Like, I didn't do anything right here. I'll show the rest of the rest of the chat room. That is not good. That would be one of my things with dogs where I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. I will say this. Now, Kahlua has a 6-panel exercise pen. I don't want a crate. I didn't want a roof over him. He's got a 6-panel exercise pen, and it's situated perfectly in a hallway where he can't move it, like jump and move it and get a lot of room. And now, don't get me wrong. He's a good dog. He's cute as fuck. But if I left him in the house while I left, this house would be, it'd be puppy tore up. It would. He's not ready to be left alone in the house, so it's not like he's ready for that. But he's definitely not going to eat through the carpet like that either.
Yeah, here's the picture. I've never seen a dog rip up wall to wall down to the pad and then start ripping up the padding. I mean, come on, dude. Jesus.
He just went through. Yeah, he said, "Fuck it." If that's Dan's dog,
I think it's his daughter's dog. Something like that. I don't know.
Man. If his daughter didn't get home in time to save that, the rest of the house was getting eat up. Baseboards, everything.
Oh, wow.
Whew.
That's crazy. All right. Well, good show. I think we answered all the questions. I don't know if we skipped over anything. So we appreciate you guys being in. Cokin should be back next week. I hope we find out who Cokin got as his next cat. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think the two cats he was looking at were Sylvester, and that was real fat ass. The other one was Beastie. I'm not sure. We went and looked on the site because we also deal with the same people Dave is trying to get the cat from, and we didn't see Beastie, the other option up there. And Dave did say the cat was being looked into for potentially having a heart issue, so I'm not sure that Beastie is available. But if Dave does get Sylvester, that's a good cat because the first thing Dave said, he's like, yeah, he's real fat. He's like an 11-year-old fat cat. That cat looked like it would be awesome for Cokin. So,
hang on, I'm logging into real quick for KC Rally Mantis. Hold on. I'm logging into the thing as a viewer, and I'm going to give you, if you want to see Kahlua.
Are you going to punch up a picture?
No, I'm not going to do the picture, but I have his. He's got an Instagram page.
Connor, what up?
I got to make sure. Yeah, there it is.
I love it.
If you have an Instagram,
the Instagram page,
there it is. That's the @name, and the name of the page is Shots of Kahlua.
That's awesome.
What up, Connor Mack? So Kahlua Boy LV, you can follow along. He's on the story. He's got a story, his Instagram story frequently, and an occasional post every other day. So check him out.
I appreciate Willie coming in because I know Willie gets up early in the morning. I also got to say I appreciate over the next couple of weeks too, Von Tobel and Adam Hill doing Cofield and Company, doing some of these shows because those guys with Paul Howard now in his 10th week of being suspended, those guys are filling in a lot now and Follow the Money on VSiN, and I think they're going to be doing so through like the middle of August. So got to say I appreciate everyone, especially doing the show at 10:30 at night. And then Von Tobel did a double dip today, so I know that wasn't that easy for him to do Cofield and Company. So much appreciated. It's good though. Everyone's getting work. Everyone's busy.
We got some company, and we got some. Well, I'm not going to do a spoiler, but we got some rankings coming out on the company, right?
Oh, yeah. We're going to do our own NFL rankings, so we'll see how that turns out.
I got some more studying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the whole thing with Paul, there's really no answer on it. It's a complicated deal. Yeah, he I'll tell you what, he's got 20 or 30 really devoted fans who are going crazy on social media, and they're all way off though, because they keep saying, VSiN's mishandling this, and this is ridiculous, and why can't they tell us? If someone's out for 10 weeks, it's something pretty serious, and my guess is it's beyond their control in terms of him being cleared. You know what I mean, Willie?
Yeah.
So it's a deeper story, but there are people out there who are like, oh, it's a language violation. Like, it's not. It wasn't a language violation. It's a complicated situation, and if an employer can't tell you publicly why someone is out, then respect that. It's something serious, and it is not. There's no health issues with Paul. He's doing. I do have to say, it's funny. Paul and Mitch have become really big because they're carried on some big TV outlets. They're carried across Canada on some big TV outlets. They're on SN, they're on MSG, but it's like they fell from out of the sky, this magical radio duo. And so I was answering some people today. I was like, yeah, they're really good because they did radio together at ESPN Vegas local for like 8 years. like they're radio guys. They've done stuff together, but people have no idea what their backgrounds are. So it's actually interesting. And I keep telling people on Thursday and Friday, I'm like, yeah, Paul's on ESPN Las Vegas on Friday nights. If you want to listen to him, people are like blown away that, really? Like, he's been doing that for like 4 years now with William Hill Radio, the William Hill Radio show. So
when I get in, it's rare unless I'm going somewhere, because at night, if I'm out, if I have to be somewhere and it's out, 6, 7, 8, I'm usually there. I'm usually at an event, Golden Knights game, whatever it may be. I'm very rarely do I have the sports talk on, or I'm listening to what's the name, Freddie. What's his last name? I can't think of his last.
Freddie Coleman.
Freddie Coleman.
Yeah.
I don't know why it escaped me. We follow each other anyway. So yeah, no, I hear them. I hear Paulie and.
Yeah,
but you're right. I mean, people just love drama and love to speculate and fucking dig in. And,
I mean, it's actually, in the end, it's actually good for Paul's brand. If he does come back to VSiN, then he's going to be bigger than ever with that, that hardcore crew of people. And there's other stuff going on too, though, on social media. But yeah, JVT and Adam will be filling in a bunch on Follow the Money. I think Mitch was out this week. Mitch is back. So we all know from, the ESPN Las Vegas audience knows that between, Mitch and Adam and JVT, like, these guys have done shows together for years, so they're going to do a good job on Follow the Money. And I've always heard from people that they actually think, and it never happened, that Mitch and Adam together would actually be the best show that you could put out there. So I think it's cool for the VSiN audience to see Adam with Mitch, because they have personalities that mesh on a lot of things. But Adam is also a lunatic, so he's going to drive Mitch over the edge on certain things. So
on purpose.
Does Adam do it on purpose?
Well, I mean,
yes.
Adam's great at poking fun. And you got it. And if you don't know Adam, you're going to sit there and go, "Damn, what an asshole!" But actually, if you know Adam, you just kind of laugh and go, "Oh man," or or before he does it, going, "Oh fuck, here it comes."
I will actually admit this, that I think Adam being with Mitch a bunch over the next month or so will be good for Adam, because Mitch is kind of fresh to Adam on air, so Mitch will still bite on the Adam lunacy. I have to admit, our show, I think, has taken a little bit of a hit because I don't bite as much as I used to. Like, I used to really go crazy with him, and now I just you hear it a lot because our show goes 1,000 miles an hour. A lot of times I'm like, go ahead and say your thing. Drive the audience crazy. It's time to go to the next topic. But Mitch, Mitch is an interesting guy, because even going back to Mitch and Pritch, Pritch found the prickly points with Mitch, and there were a few like legit fucking great blow-ups between those guys, where like it was like amping up, and then the conversation just stopped because Mitch got so pissed off. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm hoping it all works out with Paul, but it is actually good for hosts to be with different people, because you do get into a zone where sometimes it's not as interesting as it should be. So
keeps you on your toes.
Of course. Of course. And that's why, one of the guys that I like doing radio with, and we'll see what we're going to do with him in the future. But, and I swear by him because he's got an ability to fucking drive me nuts. McKinnell he can be a really irritating guy. Really irritating.
How much did people think that Adam and Ryan were just going to go to blows back and then?
Oh yeah. Well, but that one, so Ryan has the ability to break me, right? Where I'm like, what the fuck? Adam has the ability to break Ryan.
Break Ryan. Yes.
And then Ryan loses his shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll never forget the day that I'm driving to.
Let me break in. You're right, Brady. Eventually, this might be the goddamn show because everyone on the show is going to be plucked off the show. So.
I was driving to the Golden Knights game, and it was unbearably cold, and you guys were out front of the beer joint. What's it called? In the plaza. In front of
why am I blanking on
the Toshiba Plaza? What's the place in front of?
Oh yeah, the bar down there. Yeah, you're right. Oh, it was there were a couple.
It was fucking ice cold, and I walked up and I had a whole thing of hot cocos.
Oh, that was so clutch.
It was right up tight. You got beer house, yeah.
Beer house, yep, beer house.
And you guys all looked up and fucking it was an eruption of just fucking on the ears. Everybody's eyes just got big. But that was the three of you, is you, Ryan, and Adam.
Yep. Well, you know what? Times change. People get jobs. People get opportunities. So it's all good right now. And on the someone was joking earlier about the Cofield tree. Willie's starting to become part of that as well. So we appreciate Willie doing all this work. And I was actually going to talk to Willie after the show. So a couple of weeks from now, we got some more opportunities. So we'll get Willie in on the terrestrial side too. And we're going to mix in. Ryan's really busy now, so we're going to mix in Ryan when we can. But Ryan's wrestling stuff, especially wrestling, but MMA stuff on Sirius XM, like he is, especially the wrestling, he is becoming a major character there. So he's doing really cool. He's doing really well for himself, and he's super passionate, and he's doing well. So I don't even know what this means. Is he cornering his co-host this weekend? What do you mean? Is Mark Henry wrestling? Is he actually wrestling with AEW? That'd be interesting. I guess that was the plan. I know Henry left WWE. He was like a legendary character with the WWE, and he shocked everyone by joining up with AEW. So, all right. I said we were done like 20 minutes ago. I appreciate everyone sticking in there. Oh, Misha Tate. I'm sorry. Yeah, Misha Tate. Yeah, she's fighting for USC.
She looks good. Adam posted her on his Instagram story. I said, can we get her to the Perfect Gym?
We probably could. Well,
yeah, they did do a show together.
Who's this?
Ryan and Misha. Remember?
Right. That was the whole point originally. Brady saying is Ryan
his co-host.
I was thinking Mark Henry because he hosts with him now. They did a show together for a while, and I think her main residence is in Southeast Asia. It might be Singapore. She was working with whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of the organization, but I guess she's come back. She's going to do some fights with the UFC as long as she wins. I was not to be mean. I was actually looking to bet against her, and I was surprised that she was a slight favorite. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens in that one. I ended show like The Sopranos, right?
That's the best. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, very anticlimactic. Actually, it's worse when I do this. I trail and I say goodbye and I say